Hi, my name is Cora May, and in this video I'm be going over and summarizing all of the Mythic plus Affix changes going into the War Within. So Blizzard has completely revamped the system. The only things that you're going to recognize going forward are going to be Tyrannical and Fortified. That means all the other rotating affixes you're used to seeing, like Bolstering, Sanguine, Bursting, they're all completely gone. That's why it's a complete revamp. In addition to Fortified and Tyrannical, there are going to be some rotating affixes, a set of 4 that are going to be Kiss Curse affixes, but I'm going to start out by just talking about Fortified and Tyrannical. So, when you get to +4, Fortified or Tyrannical are going to become active just like you were used to in the past. They're going to rotate week to week just like you were used to. However, the biggest change is that at +10 from now on, Fortified and Tyrannical are always going to be active. Now, when you first hear that, that sounds a little scary if you didn't know about that, but in the end, I think it's actually a really good change. In the past, Blizzard has kind of had these like swings of like dungeons being too hard on Fortified or Tyrannical because it was hard for them to like adjust and balance the dungeon based on like the week it was and how strong things should hit. But now, since at +10, Fortified and Tyrannical are both active, it's basically like they can balance as if neither of them exist, and it's going to make it much easier for them to balance these dungeons on +10 above. And +10 is kind of the breakpoint that many of us care about because that is what you need to do in order to get your max Great Vault reward. Kiss Curse Affixes called Xal'atath Bargains, there's going to be 4 of them, all get activated at the +2 keystone level, and they can be activated all the way to the +11 keystone level. So from +2, from +2 to 11 is where you're going to see these rotating affixes. There's a total of 4, which I'm going to go over, and they're all pretty simple to understand. This first affix is called Zotas Bargain, Oblivion. It's going to summon all of these orbs that when you soak give you Mastery and Leech. If they hit the mob, they're going to make it take 10% less damage. They're pretty slow moving and pretty easy to pick up, and no, they don't do any damage or anything when you soak them. The second is called Xal'atath Bargain, Voidbound. It's going to summon this emissary that once you kill is going to give you 20% CDR and 10% crit. While it's alive, it's going to target one of the enemy mobs and give them a stacking buff that makes them take less damage. So it's pretty important that you switch this mob and kill it so that you can go back to cleaving down whatever mobs you're fighting at the time. Third affix is Xal'atath Bargain, Devour. This puts a debuff on every single player in the party. There are 2 ways to handle this. The first is a dispel. It can be dispelled with anything. Curse, poison, disease, magic. Everything goes, anything we use to dispel. So if you have a dispel during this week, it's really nice if you take the dispel for your healer. If you don't have a lot of dispels, this can also be healed off. So this doesn't work like a regular healing absorb where it actually absorbs the healing. All it's doing is counting how much the player is receiving. So if I am taking damage and I do have the heal absorb on me, I'm still going to be able to be healed just as much as I was if I didn't have the heal absorb, and just whatever other healing is done to me is also counted towards the healing absorb to get it to come off. If you fail to get off the absorb by either dispelling it or healing it, then it's going to heal whatever mobs you're fighting by about 10%, I believe, and if you do heal or dispel them all off, then you get 20% crits. The last affix is Xal'atath Bargain, Ascendant. What you need to do is you need to stop these orbs from finishing their cast. You can CC them, interrupt them, even purge them to stop. Once you do, you are going to get a haste and movement speed buff. If you don't do this, then the enemies are going to get the haste and movement speed buff. So quick recap so far on when affixes become relevant. So at +2 is when you start getting these Kiss Curse affixes. At +4 is when you start getting the Tyrannical and Fortified. And there's another affix that comes into play at +7, and this is called Challenger's Peril. What this does is it changes the death penalty timer from being just +5 seconds to being +15 seconds, which essentially means death skips are definitely a thing of the past, and once you get to this key level, you're going to want to start playing a bit more carefully, a bit more defensively than you were before, because deaths are going to become a lot more punishing in the War Within. If you're only planning on doing +10s this season, then you can stop watching this video. This next affix comes into play at the +12 keystone level. It's going to replace the Kiss Curse affixes that I was talking about before. So the only affixes that are going to be present when you get to +12 are going to be Fortified and Tyrannical, Challenger's Peril, and this new affix that I'm about to talk about. None of the Kiss Curse ones are going to be active. This new affix adds a 20% flat damage and health modifier to all of the enemies done. So that means on top of whatever scaling that you'd usually get from going from an 11 to a 12, is now going to have an extra 20% on top of that. To put this in perspective, from a 10 to 11, you have a 23% modifier normally in that jump, and then from an 11 to 12, you have a 26% modifier without the affix. Now add on the extra 20% health and damage done by the enemy's affix to that on a 12, and you're seeing a 46% jump from an 11 to a 12. That's a percent modifier based on like a Mythic 0, by the way, to put that perspective. Either way, it means that the jump from 11 to 12 is going to be crazy large difficulty. You're going to lose out on whatever like kiss benefit you were getting from the Appex from before, and everything is going to be much stronger. This is going to make pushing keys this season especially interesting once you start hitting the plus 12 level. And that's it for this video. Good luck this season. Bye.